Hello, everyone.
Hi.
We would like to present to you our University of the Greater Region Center for Border Studies. Now, we'll do this in English because this is our working language, but in fact, we are a trilingual center and a trilingual group. So we're also called Europäisches Competence- und Wissenszentrum für Grenzraumforschung oder
Centre européen de compétences et de ressources en études sur les frontières.
Exactly, that's us. And who are we? My name is Astrid Fellner. I'm the project leader at Saarland University of the Center for Border Studies. I'm also professor of North American Literary and Cultural Studies.
And I'm Eva Nossem. I'm the scientific coordinator of this program of the UniGR-Center for Border Studies at Saarland University. And by trade, I'm a translator for English, German, and Italian.
Okay, now we just presented ourselves. This is, so to speak, the Saarland campus of the University of the Greater Region of Border Studies. It's actually, we're part of a larger whole, so to speak, because the Center of Border Studies is actually situated at 6 different partner universities, the so-called University of the Greater Region. And it actually involves 4 countries, 6 universities, as I've said. We have 3 working languages, sometimes 4, because we also, of course, have Luxembourg and Luxembourgish in our program. And I think we're about 80 researchers in the Greater Region who have come together to work on border studies. And as you can imagine, borders have become, of course, super important again. So there's plenty of work for us to do. Now, here at Saarland University, we are, I don't know, a bunch of professors in different, as we call them here at Saarland University, Fachrichtungen, in different disciplines. So there's me in North American Literature, Cultural Studies, there is Cultural Geography, there is the Department of Romance, Language and Literature, and Intercultural Communication. There is French Public Law at law school, there is Language Science and Technology, Education Technology, and Francophone German Studies. We have a project currently funded through the EU, through an Interreg program, but we're also a center in the sense of that we're a network of scholars, un réseau, as we often say, and we're open. So anyone can really join us, and we're happy to find more students, faculty, researchers, professors who are interested in the study of borders. Now, the project, the Interreg project, has a series of project partners, and we just wanted to list them so that you can see how many different partners, project partners, strategic partners, associated partners are involved here. And we also, as a project, as an Interreg project, receive or have received co-financing from the Saarland and in Belgium, Wallonie. Okay, since we're a network of different scholars and different universities working together, actually the structure of the center is quite difficult, I think, but well, it's also easy. Let's give it a try and you explain the structure.
Let's call it complex. Huh?
Okay.
So
okay.
Let's focus here maybe on the main branches that we have. Our project, or the entire Center for Border Studies, has, of course, its main focus on research. We'll talk about that in a minute. But we also place great focus on mobility. It was one of our aims in the project to strengthen the mobility of researchers and faculty within our greater region. But we also have a strong focus on teaching. And this is also something that we'd like to tell you more about. Maybe we can continue so you'll become clearer. If we move to the next slide.
Okay.
We see how this project structure is also reflected on our website. So if you want to learn more about our project, you can go to borderstudies.org or cbs.unigr.eu And here you'll find all the information that you can imagine about our entire project, about the structure we have, our main activities, what we think that border studies is, or what we understand by border studies. We have a connection to the Master of Border Studies, and then we have our main part, the focus on resources, where you can find our research output. So let's start. If you have a look at the part under the category of activities where we focus on teaching, this is where our master's program in border studies comes in. Maybe Astrid wants to tell you more about that.
Yes, I'd love to, because I'm involved in this master program, which here at Saarland University involves mainly cultural geography, but also the chair of intercultural communication and Romance linguistics. And it's a master program which is actually done by 4 universities. So it's not the entire 6 universities of the Greater Region, but 4 universities. And if you're interested in studying this master, you will certainly have a chance to learn more. There's also a separate presentation on the Master of Border Studies. What is special about our master? Well, it's a tri-national program. So 4 universities are involved in 3 countries. It's a tri-lingual program. We teach in English, French, and German. And upon completion of this program, our students actually receive a diploma from 4 universities. All in all, there is about 28 teaching staff members. And it's a 2-year program, of course, and it allows you to focus on 2 tracks. It allows you to choose actually between these 2 tracks. There is a focus on spatial aspects, spatial planning, geography, and also cultural border studies, which is the field that the 2 of us here work on.
Well, in our project, we also focus, or we set the aim of creating also digital support for that master's program. And this is where our focus on teaching comes from. And the focus on teaching is split into 3 different subgroups, subcategories, if we want to call it such. On the one hand, we're setting up a series of teaching modules that focus on the industrial history of the Greater Region. And then we also have an open online course, a MOOC, that the colleagues of Université de Lorraine have created by the title of Au-delà des frontières, diagnostiquer les territoires, which is available in French, and now in the meantime it's also available with German subtitles. So you're all it's open accessible, so you're all free to zoom in if you want to. You find the URL here on the slide. And then we're about to set up a KLOOC, something like a MOOC on border studies. Maybe Astrid, you have to.
Well, KLOOC is the abbreviation for, it's the Kaiserslautern MOOC, so to speak, and we changed that. And this is a MOOC that actually introduces you to border studies in general. So it's kind of like a crash course in border studies. Needless to say, these teaching modules will become important in the future, as we now are getting used to remote learning. So please feel free to check these MOOCs out. They're available at the given website of both the Center for Border Studies as well as the one that you see below. Okay, so we focused on teaching. And this is, of course, one big aspect. The other big function of our Center for Border Studies, of course, is research. So we are engaged in collaborative research, which means all of us at 6 different universities work together. And what we now very briefly want to focus on is those research projects that we coordinate here at Saarland University. And foremostly here, we coordinate the so-called digital glossary, our border glossary. And I will hand over to you again, because actually you're responsible for the coordination of this big project.
Yeah, thank you. So we set us the aim of creating what we have termed the glossary border studies, or in short, border glossary. And we promise to deliver a minimum of 40 entries and these entries will consist of key concepts in the field of border studies, as all our colleagues coming from the different disciplines use it in their everyday teaching and research in border studies. We gave them the task of drafting the entries in the form of short scholarly articles. And these articles, not necessarily the terms themselves, but the articles will be available then in all our 3 working languages, so in German, English, and French. As our disciplines and our needs according to disciplines vary, very often people might want to add pictures or maps or other content to their articles, and this is all possible. So we will have multimodal content, and that all will be available for free. It's open access on our project websites. And as I said, it will be published in the form of scholarly articles, so it will also be quotable in the end. So that's the aim that we have. That's the rough outline. And then the question, of course, is how to represent all these entries in our glossary. And in order to stick to our to what we work on also in research, we decided that a linear glossary won't do the job, but to set it up in a network-like structure. And this is what we're really working on right now. It's not exactly an easy task, but the outcome will be pretty exciting, I guess. And yeah, you'll find it all on the website when it's ready. So we're working on that now.
So this project should really help us also define the field, not only the field
Absolutely.
of border studies, but also the specific kind of ramifications and the specific focus areas also of our Center for Border Studies. Alrighty, so this is kind of like a keywords of our discipline,
yes, indeed. Yeah.
Which I think will put our Center for Border Studies on the map in the larger global community, because border studies is, after all, a global phenomenon. Okay, so of course we also need a publication series. We all publish on different areas, so we do have a great focus here on the Greater Region. We are a border area, but of course we also focus on other border areas or borderlands, as we call them. Myself, I'm an Americanist, so I focus on North American borderlands, the US, Mexican, US, Canada border. Here you can see our working paper series. So currently we are working on a couple of not only working papers, but also thematic issues. As you can see, the next thematic issue, I'll start actually from the bottom here, is actually an issue that both of us, together with our colleague in Ukraine, Tatiana Ostapchuk, we're co-editing this, the biopolitics of borders in times of crisis. But apart from these thematic issues, we also have a working paper series, which means that it's a kind of pretty fast way of getting your paper published. And actually you have a current, in the current issue, actually you have a paper on the pandemic of nationalism and the nationalism of pandemics, sort of the on the difficult situation of namings, also of naming, so to speak, yes. Of borders in times of the pandemic. These are, we're not only saying this because we want to show kind of what we have published, but these are working papers, paper series that are open. So to anyone at Saarland University, also to the outside. So if you're looking for a publishing outlet, you may contact us. Absolutely. And we'll tell you how to go about it. Our third, which is here kind of sandwiched between 1 and 3, number 2 is our University of the Greater Region Center for Border Studies policy papers. Those are important because we also have set ourselves the goal of delivering basically to the world outside, to here in the Greater Region, the political actors in the greater region, and these policy papers really should also help us kind of and give information and our insights from our research to our strategic partners, primarily here in the greater region.
Mhm.
All right. What's even faster in terms of publishing is a blog that we have created. It started because of the COVID-19 crisis, when we felt that when borders were closed in the greater region, we as a Center for Border Studies wanted to react and wanted to create an outlet. And so we have invited people out there to send us their thoughts. So these are kind of short papers, reflections, personal observations, border observations, in other words. And if you want to say something on the situation of borders, primarily in the greater region, but again, also globally, again, please contact us, because this blog, of course, is also open to anyone who wants, to publish their observations on borders. All right, and then we're coming to an end here. Last but not least, and I'll hand over to you so that you can very briefly present our working groups that we also have created.
Yeah, rather than present them all in detail, I just want to mention them to make you aware of them. As we said, our main focus here in the presentation, but also, of course, in the entire project, is on research, and a lot of research actually happens within these working groups. So as you can see here on the list, we have currently 4 different working groups, which are all pretty active, as you see, by their output, by their activities. We have the one focusing on spatial planning. They have a very strong partners in Kaiserslautern and in Liège. We have the very well-known GRETI seminars. We also have a working group on labor and education. And we here have also a working group on border textures. And that's the one that the 2 of us are most familiar with, and in which Saarland University has an important role, because we're very, very strongly represented in that group. You want to give more detail?
Yes, and this is kind of also should also be interesting for you, because this is also a working group which organizes not only workshops but also lecture series. We call them Atelier Border Studies, and you can see here that we have brought in actually a lot of international scholars already, and we have invited scholars, and now we're doing online lectures. So what we want to do is we really also want to reach out and connect with other border studies scholars, especially here in the field of cultural border studies, in which we also work on a theoretical concept of how to actually, when we do border studies, how to actually talk about borders. So our theoretical concept, which is actually called bordertextures, and this is also the name of the working group here, a concept, as I've said, and really also a heuristic tool with which to approach borders. Alrighty, I think that's about it, right?
All the information about the working group border textures can also be found on the website bordertextures.org, and there you also find information whenever we have the upcoming guest lecture, and you're all free to join us, or whenever it takes place on campus, or also via, webinars. Okay.
All right. So here's our contact information. We are on Twitter. We are on the web. We are on Facebook. So please check us out. We'd love to welcome you as a member of our group. We'd love to have you as students. We'd love to welcome you in one of our guest lectures. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your interest. And as I've said, we're very much looking forward to seeing you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.